Okay, so there was a guy who worked at Monolith, and Monolith is responsible, among other things, for Shadow of Mordor and the forthcoming Shadow of War, the sequel. Now, Mike Forgy, sorry, mispronunciation. I'll start again. There was a guy who used to work at Monolith, a game company that's responsible, among other things, for Shadow of Mordor and the forthcoming Shadow of War. And this guy's name is Mike Forgy. And he very unfortunately lost a battle to cancer sometime last year. And so the development team decided to immortalize him in the game that he helped create. And so they created Forthog the Orc Slayer. Now, he used to play in the development team's band, and rather appropriately, Forthog the Orc Slayer has a guitar-shaped axe. Spot the intentional pun. And well, the guy himself used to come onto the development team, apparently, to bail them out when they got into difficulties. And ironically, this is exactly what they've given him to do in the game. When the player is about to take a death blow, sometimes this character, Forthog the Orc Slayer, steps in and saves the player from being killed. It couldn't be a more perfect tribute if they tried. It looks like him, he's holding a guitar, ho-ho, and he bails the player out when they get into trouble. It's the perfect tribute to him. And it's a brilliant idea. Where things start to get a little bit awkward, however, is... Right, the first thing is that Warner Brothers is the one who is putting this game out. Monolith is the developer, Warner Brothers is the publisher. And they decided to charge $5 for this as DLC. Now, first of all, they do say, if we fast forward through this video here, where is it? There it is. If we have a look at the screen, it clearly says WB Games will donate $3.50 of every Forthog Orc Slayer purchase to the Forgy family through December 31st, 2019. Great. Great. Unfortunately, and I'm going to give the credit to Total Biscuit because, well, he seems to be the only one that reads the small print. The small print unfortunately reads, if I blow it up to full screen, at the bottom it quite clearly says, in very tiny fine print, donations will be made on purchases from any one of the 50 US or DC areas, basically. DC being District of Columbia, I believe it is. Yes, District of Columbia. And the 6 states that are exempt from this is Alabama, Hawaii, Illinois, Massachusetts, Mississippi, and South Carolina. Those 6 states, the charitable donation doesn't happen off of the $5. If you put $5 into this DLC item, the $3.50 doesn't get donated if you're in one of those 6 states. But get this, if you're outside the US, it doesn't happen either. So basically you have to live within the 44 specific states in America for the charitable donation to happen. Now, if WB Games had issued a statement saying, oh, by the way, we know about this tax exemption thing because it's a quirk of tax law, we can't get round it. Okay, fair enough. We're going to make a separate donation. We'll collect in all the $5 amounts and then make a different donation separately. Fine. if they bothered to say that, which they haven't. This news item, the video was put up just over a week ago, and Total Biscuit pretty much responded straight away to this because, as I say, he's the only one that bothers to read the fine print, apparently. The rest of us don't bother. And they've had a week. They've had a week to clarify their position, and they haven't bothered to do so. I mean, I've had a look around, and I can barely navigate the game's homepage. There doesn't seem to be a news section anywhere. There's a media bit. It just gives you videos, screenshots, wallpapers, cosplay, that kind of thing. I can't find any statement from Warner Brothers saying that's what they're going to do. So I'm going to assume that they're not. I'm going to assume that they're not going to make a separate donation for people who are in those 6 states and outside the US. I'm assuming that all the $5 is just going to go into their pocket. What else am I supposed to think? And another thing bothers me is that this exemption, again, blow it up to full screen because that's the only way you can read it, and that's the point. It's in tiny little letters at the bottom. Tiny little letters at the bottom of the screen. It is literally small print. I can only assume, first of all, the $3.50 out of the $5, it's not tax deductible. The donation is not tax deductible because it's being made on a purchase. So, fine. That's not an issue. But they put the exemptions in small print, and they haven't said that they're going to make a separate donation for areas that are exempt, which makes me think that they just kind of cover it up. So, I don't know. This game comes out on the 10th of October. So they've got plenty of time to clarify their position. They probably should have done already. It's been a week. But you know what? If they don't row back on this, or if they don't clarify their position, they won't reverse their stance. They'll just say, oh, sorry, we meant to do that, but we didn't say so. Whatever. If they reverse their position, I'll still get the game and I'll buy the DLC. But if they don't reverse their course on this, I'm not even going to buy the game. Which is a pity because I was looking forward to it. I mean, it's Shadow of War. This is the follow-up to Shadow of Mordor, which took everybody by surprise. I'm just not going to get it. If they don't... If they say that they're not going to do that, if you're going to buy this DLC in those 6 states or outside the US, they don't clarify that they're going to make a donation on those purchases, I'm not buying the game and I'm not reviewing it. I've heard about this news first of all from Jim Sterling on the Jimquisition, and he says that this is the scummiest move. That this isn't the scummiest move he's ever encountered. I don't know what is. I'm assuming he's including his whole, that whole digital homicide thing that he had to go through for about a year in that assertion. But this looks like the scummiest thing that I've ever encountered. Bit of clarity, please, Warner Brothers. You give us a bit of clarity. You say that the donations for these exempt areas are still going to happen, that you'll take care of it. Okay, fine. And I'll get the DLC. I will, because honestly, I looked at this video and it looked like an awesome idea. It immediately made me think, this is actually pretty cool. He even, as I say, he has an axe for a guitar. It's a clever idea. It's a cool idea. I like that they included this. I just don't like the way that they appear to have tried to cover up how much money will be donated. It's the cover-up that's bothering me here. The whole charging $5 for the DLC, okay, you're going to donate most of it. Okay, good. Yeah, not a problem. Fine, great. But it just looks like you've covered up the exemption thing. Bit of clarity. That'd be nice. Otherwise, as I say, I'm not getting it. And by the way, you can, if you want to bypass the whole will they or won't they donate for, or you can donate directly. There are places you can donate directly to. I'll put a link to those in the description below the video. We'll see what Warner Brothers does. We'll see.